Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Monsters. Today we have Danny. Well, Daniel, Danny,
Yeah.
whatever we want to call you today. I like Danny.
Yeah.
And he's going to share his story with us.
So tell me, is there room for me to cry? Is the devil all inside my mind? I don't wanna die like this, I wanna live my life.
All right, Danny. Where'd you come in from?
California, near
Okay.
Modesto, like Central Valley area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small town. Nobody knows where my town's at, but
Is that where you're from?
yeah,
Too?
yeah. We
Okay.
moved. I was born in the Bay Area in Redwood City, and then we moved to. It's called Waterford when I was 3, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, that's all. I've
So
ever
you're a
been.
California boy
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start wherever you're comfortable. You know.
Shoot. Okay. Well, let's see. So, like I said, I grew up in a small town in Waterford. Um, Played sports pretty much my whole life, starting about 4 or 5, I guess. And then went to college in Southern California. I always wanted to be a firefighter. That's all I really ever wanted to be. And so I knew eventually I'd get to that point, but I wanted to play baseball. So I went to school in Southern California, played baseball there for a few years, and then just kind of decided I'd come back and get started. So in 2010, I went through the fire academy at the junior college there, and then I started doing firefighting. I was volunteering and doing my EMT and just applying places.
Right.
And then
Is it hard to get hired out there for
at that
fire?
time it was. It's
Yeah.
not now. Like now they're hiring 36 people at a time. But when I was doing it, it was people were driving to Arizona and all over the place to
Really
interview. Like they were
cutthroat.
interviewing thousands of people for 2 spots. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah. I always wanted to do Cal Fire though. I always wanted to be a smoke jumper. That's what I really wanted to do. That was the end game, but it never really got started. So like in 2012, I think it was 2012. I had a friend visiting from Washington, and it was his last night there. And so we were kind of, he was like, "Well, we're gonna go out. We're gonna go out." And I was like, "No, I had training in the morning." So I was like, "No, no, I'm not gonna. I got to get up early. No." And then more and more of our friends started being like, "Well, yeah, let's go, let's go." And I was like, "All right, fine. I'm 21, 22 years old. I can be hungover one time, So
Right.
we went out, same places I went all the time, and we went to one place and it was kind of dead. So they're like, "Well, let's go to this other place that we always went." And I was like, "Okay." So we went there, and um, there was 4 or 5 of us, but then they're all real small towns out there. So, a bunch of people we went to high school with were all at the bar that night too. So we ended up being in a bigger group, but I was just kind of with one of my buddies, and we were up at the bar and we were, drinking and stuff. And then I guess at the other end of the bar, um, my other friends, they were hanging out and something happened where they got into an argument with some other guys. And me and my buddy went down there and we were like, we're just like, just calm down. We just want to have a good time, So we bought them a couple beers and that was it. But I guess they kept causing problems, and the bartender didn't like it. So she had the bouncer kick him out. And so then
Your friends got kicked out? Or
no,
the
the
other
guys that were starting the
Okay.
problems.
Okay.
So yeah. So this bar has had problems a lot with this, like drugs and stuff like that. And so I guess the bouncer was not the most, trustworthy character, but so he let them back in, and because they were friends or something. And they did the same thing, started causing problems. And so the bartender said, "No, I want them out." So they got kicked out again. And the second time they got kicked out, they went to their car, and I guess the guy grabbed a knife. And then he got let back in a little later, but I guess the bouncer like told him to just hang out by the front door. And so, okay, so most of the stuff I know from security camera footage and from people telling me. So it's all, I only remember a very few things from that night. So on the security camera footage, when you watch it, I was at the other end of the bar, not near it, but my friend that I was with earlier in the night was talking to the guys, and they're just sitting there, they're just having a conversation. Can't hear what they're saying, but they're just talking. And then my buddy like puts his hands on their shoulders, and right when he does that, the dude turns and just punches him, and he had a knife in his hand. And when he punched him, he knocked him out and sliced his ear, and he fell down. And so then one of our friends that wasn't with us that night but just happened to be there was right there, And so he jumped in and they started going at it, and they kind of got ushered out the front door. And you see, like, so the two guys that were causing all the problems, one of them was worse than the other, the little guy. And the guy with the knife was like, just, going along with it, I guess. And you see in the security camera footage, they're swinging, and you just kind of see him just uppercutting, like right at my buddy, like right at his gut. And he had the knife in his
With
hand.
the
while he was
knife.
yeah. So my friend got stabbed along his lower left side. He got sliced pretty good. And then once in the middle, like on the right hand side of him. And so while they're doing that, his friend is like trying to jump up and punch him in the back of the head. And then he stops and he kind of disappears out of camera. And then they kind of go farther up the street out of camera themselves. And then there's like, you don't really see anybody. And then I kind of come walking out the front door, and I just kind of, I'm like looking around. I don't see anything. And I go back inside. And right when I go back inside, the other guy comes from behind a van and pushes me into a wall, and I fell. And as I'm getting up, he runs up and kicks me in the face. And so naturally, I just got kicked in the face. So I'm like, I jump up and we kind of start going at it. And I was not a small guy back then. I could say I was fluffy. I was 245 pounds, and I was doing firefighting. So I was like, I wasn't weak. And he was about 170 pounds soaking wet. So we started like going at it a little bit. And then eventually I just kind of pick him up and put him down on the cement. And then I start backing away. And when I back away, the guy with the knife, you see he comes out from the middle of the street and he runs at me, and he stabbed me once in the lower left side and then took off running. And my adrenaline's going. I don't really know what's going on. So I stupidly chased him.
Right.
And I caught him across the street. And from what they told me, I yelled something. He turned around and I hit him. But right when I punched him, he stabbed me through the sternum. And that's the one that messed me up. So
my God.
yeah, I just had, so 3 people got stabbed that night, and then my friend got his ear sliced. So my buddy that got stabbed first, he got metaflighted out because his looked the worst because he got sliced across the bottom. And I think, if I remember correctly, it like pierced his lung a little bit, the second one. But he's okay. He's got some, issues now. He's all right now. But and then one of the bouncers or the bartenders got stabbed through the chest too, and I think it nicked his heart.
Oh my God.
He's okay too. They didn't realize how bad mine was until I got to the hospital and they started looking into everything. So, I just got regular ambulance out, and, so like,
Did you feel anything at that point, or you just don't really remember
I don't
because of the trauma?
I don't really remember. I lost a lot of blood. And
Okay.
so, one of the few things I do remember is, after everything, one of the guys came out from the bar and hit the guy with a bar stool and then pinned him down and took the knife from him and had both of the guys and was waiting for the cops. And when he was doing that, I was coming back across the street, and my buddy came out and he was like, "We got to go, dude. You got stabbed." And I was like, "No, I didn't." Like,
Oh, so you're like,
yeah, I had no idea.
Oh,
And so I was like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, you got stabbed." And I was like, and so I remember this part. I remember grabbing my chest and feeling my shirt soaking wet, and then reaching under my shirt and feeling just whatever was there pushing out through the hole. And so I just went, uh-oh, and so
you're like, okay, maybe I did.
yeah, I remember going over
Gosh.
back towards the bar, and I just kind of leaned against the wall and I sat down. And then one of my other friends, one of my really good friends that I'm still friends with now, I guess from when he told me, I was like laying in his lap, like telling him not to let me die and to call my mom and stuff.
Oh.
So yeah, I remember that part. And then,
So y'all have a forever bond.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we grew up together, so
Yeah.
we were,
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah. And then, so I remember that part. And
Was
then
this guy just drunk, shit faced, or maybe drugs? Or
I
like
know
that
he was drunk. I heard, I'm not sure if it's 100% true that they were doing drugs and they were getting it from the bouncer. I'm not sure how true any of that is, but
I mean,
I
that
know,
makes sense.
yeah. I never met the guy. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't, other than the encounter we had earlier in the night
Right.
where we were just like, hey, everyone's just trying to have a good time, calm down, and then, so yeah. And then so my dad's a paramedic, and he was a paramedic in that area. He wasn't on call. He was working some,
yeah,
he was working
okay,
some, but
good.
he had been a paramedic there for, 15, 20 years. So
Yeah.
I knew the paramedic who was on call that night. And when I was in the ambulance, um, I remember the lights flashing by every once in a while, and then I remember thinking to myself, like, why do you guys have the windows open? But they didn't. I had a rebreather on, so there was air flowing. So I thought the windows were open. I don't know why I weirdly
Yeah.
remember that part. And then I remember asking him, if I was gonna, knowing full well he's not gonna give me a straight answer, because like I said, I did
Right.
fire and my dad's a paramedic, so it's like they're never gonna say, yeah, you're gonna
You're
make
gonna
it,
make
or
it.
you're gonna
Yeah.
die. They'll
Yeah.
be like, we're doing everything we can.
Right.
And I just remember asking him, and then I remember thinking to myself, like, sorry, this is the part that always gets the hardest. But
No, it's okay.
I remember thinking to myself, like, my mom doesn't know where I'm at. My dad doesn't know where I'm at. My sisters don't know where I'm at. Like, the only people that know what's happening right now are the people I was with.
Right.
And so I was just thinking that. And so when I was in the fire academy, there was these two firefighters that came in. They had a bad incident where they fell through a roof, and they came in to talk to our class. And one of them fell straight through into the garage, and the other guy fell into the attic space. And he was telling us, everything about it, and how he was trying to get out. He had his axe, and he was getting caught in the ductwork. And he said he remembered, like, he just was at a point where he couldn't keep going, and then he felt his mask starting to melt, and then he was like, he had to say goodbye to his new kid and his wife and his head. And I remembered that when that happened, thinking like, oh, that sucks. But then
When you're living it.
I'm in the back of this ambulance, and I'm thinking, like, dude, I was 11 months into dating my ex-wife now, but she had a daughter who was basically my daughter. And so I'm thinking I have to say goodbye to them. So I'm, because I didn't think I was going to get through that. And so I was like, all right, now I actually have to do this. And so I remember saying goodbye to my mom, my dad, my sisters, our
Oh.
daughter, my girlfriend at the time. And then I kind of remember, sorry, this is the part of this that never gets easier. But I just remember thinking, like, it was getting really, really hard to breathe and really, really hard to keep my eyes open. And just thinking, like, all right, well, this is it. And I remember breathing a little bit, and then I remember thinking, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes, say goodbye to everyone. And then I did that. And then I was like, I'm going to close my eyes, and like, all right, one more breath. And then that was it. And so in my head, that was it.
Yeah.
And then I woke up almost 2 months later, because they had to put me into a coma for all the surgeries I went
2
through.
months.
Yeah, it was like a month and a half ish.
Still.
Yeah. So
Oh my gosh.
in that moment, I was just like, well, and then I woke up in a hospital, just, I couldn't move anything below my neck because everything had atrophied, because I'd been in a coma for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to, I don't remember a lot about my hospital stay, because I was on pretty much every pain
I'm sure.
medication you can think of.
Right.
And I remember a lot of hallucinations and just like pain. That's all I really remember. And then, I woke up and they're trying to explain to me what happened. So I ended up going through, I think it was 13 major surgeries while I was under. So the knife, when it went through, it was like a millimeter from my spine, and ended up severing my mesenteric artery, which is the one that pushes blood to all your vital organs.
Yeah.
And so the surgeon had to open me up a bunch of times, and because I kept getting infections. So I ended up losing 18 feet of my small intestine and half of my colon. Yeah. And so
Oh my God.
they're trying to like explain it to me, and I'm, on all these pain meds, like, yeah, sure, whatever,
Right.
And then
You're like, I thought that I died a while ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
weird. And thinking back to all that, like, it was just, like, I only remember those two things, the part where feeling that hole, and then having to say goodbye to everybody like that. And
Well, thank God. It's probably a blessing that that's all you remember.
yeah.
Especially like, when they're trying to take people out of sedation and bring, see how well you can handle coming off of it. I can't even imagine how scary that would be.
Yeah. And so basically throughout the hospital stay, it was just, watching everything that they had to do surgery on. So I have a scar that goes from my sternum down to my belt line, and then it's about 4 or 5 inches wide. So none of my
Wow.
abdominal muscles are like connected anymore. They're just kind of
Right.
there, and it's all skin graft and scar tissue. And I have a jejunostomy. So
Okay.
that's not really a thing. So I mean, there's jejunostomies, but they're called like J tubes, where it's like a feeding tube.
Yeah. Yeah.
But mine's like a traditional like stoma, like for a
Yeah.
colostomy, but at my
Yeah.
jejunum. And
Okay.
so when we were like talking to the surgeon about everything, and she's just kind of like, we don't really know like what to tell you, because nobody who has this bad of injury survives. So it's like I'm like the guinea pig, I guess.
Wow.
So yeah, I had a pick line in one of my arms first. I had three of them. So I had a pick line that they pulled after they sent me home. And then, so I did a lot of throwing up. I was throwing up like 15, 20 times a day because everything was adjusting. So just swallowing my own spit and I'd throw up. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Oh my
after they pulled
gosh.
the pick line, which was just like all the electrolytes and fatty lipids that my ileum and everything used to absorb wasn't there anymore. So they had to pump it straight in, and they pulled it, started vomiting, lost. I think when I woke up, I was 130 pounds, 135 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went from like
Oh my
245 and then woke
gosh.
up at 135. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was that was shocking. And then so I had 3 fentanyl patches on my shoulder, all like the highest it would go. I had that. I had a morphine IV drip. Um, I had, liquid Vicodin. I was taking I was getting painkiller suppositories, like anything they could do because I couldn't swallow pills or anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I
So
was on
you
all
felt
that.
out of it most of the time?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hallucinated it a lot. And I remember some of them, most of the time it was like hallucinating that spiders and bugs were crawling on the wall, which I hear is pretty common, I guess, with some of it.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple
But
times
that's like
like,
the worst.
yeah, because I'm terrified of spiders too.
Yeah,
So,
same, same. I am too.
so when I talked to like my family and stuff afterwards, I would ask them stuff and they'd be like, no, that never happened. I was like, what? Like, I was for sure, I was like dead set that these things happened. Like, I
Yeah.
thought that I got moved rooms a couple times. They're like, you were in the same room the whole time. I was like, and then I thought that I had this one hallucination where they moved me across the street for some reason. And then like, it was just really weird. And,
But it was probably very real to you
yeah.
at the
Oh yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was coming off of the fentanyl patches was the worst one. And they would just cut a quarter of it off at a time. So they'd cut a quarter off, and then I remember just like, oh my God. So that was the worst part. But
Would the
then
pain just rush right back in?
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. And just the withdrawals from that, like, yeah, it was bad. And then I had to learn to walk again and all that stuff. So it started off real slow. So they'd come in and they'd sit me up, and then my blood pressure would spike and I'd puke and they'd lay me down. And then a few hours later they'd come in, sit me up, blood pressure would spike, I'd puke, they'd lay me back down. And then it went from that to standing up, and the same thing would happen. And then I have to sit back down. It was just gradual steps.
Yeah.
And before I left, I think I was only able to walk up like one step by that time. And I'd, have to go back down to bed.
So what were they using to control your pain after they're taking you off?
They sent me home with, man, like liquid painkillers basically.
Okay.
Once I was able to like keep food down a little bit,
Yeah.
then they started doing that. There was there was this one nurse. I became like friends with all the nurses obviously because I was in there for so
Sure.
long. But there was these two like young guys. When they'd come in, it felt like every time they came in, I was like puking all over myself, and they'd have to clean me up. And it felt like every time they came on shift, and I'd always be like,
Right.
sorry guys, and like it's okay.
Yeah.
And then there was this other guy. He's an ex-Marine, and just this big, huge guy. And his like, he'd come in and he'd be like, "You keep any of the pain meds down?" And I'd want to say yes because he was always like, "Well, we gotta do a suppository." I'm like, "Dude, can we not this time? Like, can we just? I swear to God, I'll swallow the pill. Just
Yeah.
let me."
Yeah. Just let
Like,
me at
nope.
least try
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So he was super nice though. And then there was for a while afterwards, I would like send Christmas and my birthday cards to the surgeon that I had because she was awesome. I saw her for a long time afterwards. I still go see her every once in a while when I have issues
Oh.
with it, but Yeah. So all those surgeries, yeah.
But you survived.
Yeah, I shouldn't have, definitely. Like, even when they would tell me, like, afterwards, they're like, we don't know. We don't know. Like,
Right.
you're going to, whatever you survive is how we're going to dictate this if it ever happens in the future. And I'm like,
Oh
oh, cool.
gosh.
So, yeah, so that's the other thing. When I got sent home, I had a wound vac because it was still open in the
Mm-hmm.
middle. So that's one of the most painful parts of all this, actually, was changing that, because they'd come in every other day or something, or once a week or something like that, and just the adhesive.
And
Oh my
debride it
god,
all.
it
Yeah.
was so freaking painful. I remember, like, no, that was
Yeah.
like the worst part. Yeah, it was. So yeah, but anyways, they told me, they were telling me when I left, like, you're not gonna be able, you're gonna be on disability forever. You're not gonna be able to work a normal job if you ever work any job. You can't lift anything over like 5-10 pounds. And I was just like, oh, that's great.
Which
That's
was heartbreaking to you, I'm
yeah. So I'm
sure.
just like, so there goes my fire career. There goes sports. There goes all of it. And I got about, it was probably less than a year into being home and recovery and stuff that. And I was just like, I was living back at home with my parents, and my girlfriend was with us. And like, we actually had our 1 year anniversary while I was in a coma. And so
Oh.
I guess my grandpa brought her like a rose and was like, oh, he'd give you this. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, yeah.
Oh. So your family was there for you?
They were there for the
Everybody? Yeah.
whole freaking thing. Like, I wouldn't be here without
Yeah.
them. Like, my recovery, there wouldn't have been a recovery. I would have been I would have given up easily.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure.
them, and I had really good, I have really great people in my corner from all these things that have happened. Just the support that I get and the help that I get, it's, without it, I wouldn't be here, hands down.
Which people don't realize that makes such a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like I said, like less than a year into it, actually my old high school baseball coach, he came to my house to see me, and he is like, I want you to come, help me coach at the high. He's still coaching at the high, so I want you to come be an assistant coach. And I was like, dude, I can't do that. And he was like, just come out, try it out. It's like, all right, it'll get me out of bed, whatever.
Right.
And so I did it, and I immediately fell in love with it. So I've been coaching since 2013. I started coaching that. I started with that, an assistant coach for baseball. The next season, he stepped down as the head coach, so I took over the baseball program the next season. I started doing basketball, volleyball. I coached my daughter's softball. Like, I just went.
And you're getting around okay
Yeah.
now at this point?
Yeah.
And
So after I got home, it was all recovery, and I would go on walks and stuff. And then once the wound vac was gone, and once I started coaching, I was like, okay, well, I'm doing all the things they said I wouldn't be able to do. Like, I'm lifting stuff. I'm not having really issues, because I have basically a permanent hernia from the first knife wound, because it's a big old slice,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can start working again. I knew fire wasn't going to work. So while I was volunteering for a paycheck, I was a paraeducator for like kids with autism, like pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that while I was doing that. And I was like, I liked doing that. So I went back and I found a job doing that, and I loved it. I love working with kids. But I was just like, I can't do this. I can't make a career out of this. I couldn't, the people I worked with, most of them were awesome, but I'm like, no, I can't. So I need to find something closer to fire. So I ended up finding, I was servicing fire extinguishers and like restaurant sprinkler systems.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. But if I could do it again, I would have gone to like an actual company. This guy, he's super nice, but it was like his own company.
Okay.
And so he was just really, really worried about making money for it.
Right.
And so I was like, when I first got the job, I was like, I'm not traveling to the Bay Area from where I'm at. Because if I was going to do that, I'd do like sheetrock and get paid $40 an hour, not what I'm getting paid here. And he's like, oh, no, you won't have to travel. Most you'll have to do is like, an hour towards the Bay Area to pick up supplies. I was like, okay, I could do that. Because I stayed up in the hills closer to where I was at. Okay. And I like that. I like working up in the mountains. So I was like, oh, that's good. And almost a year into that, he started changing my routes, because he had young guys that wanted to go back to school, but he was like, no, because that takes away from the money. And so they all quit. And so I started having to take their routes, and I'm driving 4 hours. That's how the drive is 4 hours, but the traffic makes it like a 6-hour drive. Right. I'm like, dude, I'm driving 10 hours and working too. Like, this is, I don't like this. And I was like, that's what I said when I came on. Like, I didn't want to do this drive. And then I told him I wanted to start going back to school, because I was pretty close to finishing my associates in fire science. So I was like, I'm just going to 1 day a week from 7 to 9. That's it. And he was
Mhm.
like, oh no. And I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, so when I applied for that job, I also applied for the job I have now at the junior college where I went to the fire academy. And they were hiring a facility technician for the fire training center out there. And I was like, oh, cool. But they had already had a guy who they were going to hire. They just have to go through the hiring process.
Oh, okay.
And so he got hired. And then it was like almost exactly a year after that. I had just finished one of the jobs locally and I was going to have to drive 4 hours somewhere. And I was just like, dude, I might just call him and go home and be like, no, I'm not working here anymore. And then strangely enough, my phone rings while I was doing that job and I got a voicemail and I didn't know who it was. He was like, oh, give me a call back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the heck is this guy? And then I looked it up and it was the director for the fire training center. And I was like, oh, shoot. So I called him and he's like, so I guess the guy that they hired, who's a really good friend of mine now, he got a job at Cal Fire. And so he was leaving and they're like, you were the second guy on the list. So he's like, I'm not offering you a job. So I don't want you to quit your job. I just want you, come and shadow him, see how it works. And, if when he leaves, I'll have all my ducks in a row. And I was like, yeah, no, cool. And I hung up and I called my boss. I was like, yeah, I quit.
Yeah.
And so I just went and shadowed him like the whole time.
Yeah.
He's there for 10 hours a day. I was right there with him. So I
Right.
learned all of it. And then when he went to do Cal Fire, I interviewed and then so I worked there for the last like 8 years and it's amazing. I love working there.
Oh.
So I get to stay close to the fire academy and
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. So I got really lucky with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, I gotta know what happened to the guy who stabbed all of you.
He went to prison for 8.5 years. They gave him 10
What?
years because for assault with a deadly weapon causing great bodily injury, which was the worst to me. So I had a lawyer and everything and
God, I feel like that's nothing.
yeah, so do I. And
Yeah.
so I guess we couldn't say that they couldn't charge him with attempted murder because they couldn't prove that he went out that night to murder someone. I'm like, he went to his car and grabbed a knife and brought it back into the bar
Yeah.
and used it. Like, but I guess so they settled for 10 years that he had to serve 8.5 or 85% of. So he had to serve 8.5 years. And he's been out for a while because this was, almost 15 years ago. And he lives in the town where we were in so there's Waterford and Oakdale. They're about 10 minutes from each other. And so we have a lot of the same friends. Like one of the guys I went through the fire academy with was like friends with his brother. And so, yeah.
Did he ever try to make any kind of amends with you guys or anything?
No, I never heard from him. Yeah. I went to his sentencing and because they said you can come and say something. And I was like, okay. So I went and I had this big old thing written out and I started it and just kind of started bawling because
Right, of course.
yeah, I was just like, it wasn't that long after it happened. So that was still pretty touchy subject for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we were waiting outside the courthouse, we were behind these people and we were talking about it, like me and my family. And I was just like, all right, let's just, because the people in front of us, I was like, they gave me a bad vibe. I was like, I don't want to, let's just stop talking. We get inside and it was his parents.
Oh, jeez.
And so while I was talking, his dad got up and walked out. And I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, is this hurting your feelings? But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know what he looked like until, because I didn't remember that
You
night.
remember,
And
right.
so every person that came out, I was like, is that him? Is that him? Is that? And then he walks out and he's like this 6'1", like parted hair. I'm like, really? Like it couldn't have been some
Really?
like big old gangbanger guy to make me feel cool.
Yeah.
No, it was, yeah, I was like, oh, that sucks. But
Wow.
yeah.
I don't know. The legal system, I don't love it
Yeah, me either.
at all. I don't feel like there's ever true justice
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It was, I mean,
So that
I
was probably
was-
like a slap in the face
Yeah.
to all of you, especially you.
yeah. I mean, if I was still in the middle of recovering and everything. So it was kind of like, I'm not going to sit here and try to take all this to trial while I'm,
Right,
still recovering.
right.
So I was just like, okay, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted. I had to know what happened to this.
Oh no,
Jackass.
yeah. I get off track and lose.
Yeah, yeah.
I had all this stuff in my head and then I start talking. I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot this part. And I got to go back. Hold on.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was,
Sorry, so where were you before I interrupted?
I was working.
You got the job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was there for about 6, 7. Sorry. I can't, I coach youth football and just the 6, 7 is just nonstop. And so now like unconsciously I'll sit there and I used to be like, oh, like 4 or 5 times. Now 6 or 7 times and everyone
Yeah.
just go, yeah. I'm like, God dang it. Got to go back to the 4 or 5. But Yeah, it was about seven. No, how long have I been there? 8 years. So 6 years into it. Um, so August 27th, I remember the exact day, 2022. Let me backtrack a little bit. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So, like I said, I started coaching and I love it. I still do it. And I coached my daughter played travel softball and I coached her from T-ball all the way through it, and so
Mm-hmm.
she started in T-ball. She loved it. She's really good at it. And then when she hit 8 or 9, we we signed her up for 10U travel ball. So she did that. Wasn't the best experience our first year with it. So she stopped doing it, went back to rec league, fell back in love with it, and then went back to travel ball. And we had the greatest freaking coach ever. Like we went back to
Oh,
the same program, which I was kind of scared of, but we went back. It was a different coach, and he's freaking awesome. He's still one of like my really good friends.
oh, good.
And so we played for about 5 years with that team. There's Firecrackers, and
Travel's tedious.
it's
It
expensive
takes
and
over your
tedious.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was literally. So I played. Like I said, sports have always been pretty big. So when I was about 20, I started playing slow pitch softball, and then I played it all the way up until this new accident. So I played a lot when she was really young, but then when she started playing, we were at tournaments 3 weekends a month, and then she practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from
Yeah.
6 to 8. So I was like, what am I going to play? I played Friday nights, and every once in a while, if I had time and somebody needed someone,
Mm-hmm.
and so the first year she played for him, I wasn't a coach. I was just watching, which is fine with me. And then he asked me to help him coach. I was like, yeah, sure. So I started helping coach, and 4 years with the same team, and it was, we loved it. And then
Get to watch them all grow so much.
yeah. So I coached her all through it. So she started playing for a different team because that team ended up folding. And then she went and played, when she was 15, she went and played with a different organization that was really, really popular for getting scholarships and playing college ball. And that was the goal. And she was 15, ended up making the 18U gold team. And I was like, sweet,
Yay.
but she wasn't starting. She would just play every once in a while. But he was looking at her like, oh, okay, I got
Right.
a middle infielder coming up, And so she was doing that. She had a tournament over the weekend. And then we had this, it's like a cancer fundraiser tournament that our slow pitch softball team did every year. And I didn't do it the year before because I was coaching. But this year I wasn't coaching. So my ex-wife was like, I'll go this time and you go do the tournament. I was like, okay.
Right.
So I go. I was gonna meet them there on Sunday. So our tournament was Saturday. I was gonna meet them there Sunday for the second day of the tournament. I'm getting ready, and I get a text message. I'm seeing someone else. I want a divorce. And I was like, I thought she was kidding. And so I
Through
called
a
her.
text?
Yeah,
Girl.
yeah. So I called her, and she's like, no, I'm serious. And so I lost it because
Of course.
we were married for almost 10 years. We were together for almost 15, and it was
Kids.
just my son Silas. Our daughter isn't my biological daughter,
Right.
but
But you
I
raised
raised her.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's my daughter. She's my goose. I nicknamed her Goose. So
Aw.
yeah. Um, so I got that text message, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. And he was apparently there at the time at my daughter's softball tournament with her.
Wow, that was quick.
Well, it had been going on. So yeah, but anyway, so that happened. So then now I wasn't even a year into my house. I bought a house for us and wasn't even a year into that. So I'm like, great. So now I'm going to have a mortgage that I'm going to have to pay, by myself with one income, deal
Right.
with, family splitting up. And
Yeah.
so I was dealing with that. And then 4 months later, on my way to work, it had been raining all night and it was raining really hard. Like I say it's storming, but California storm is like a drizzle in all these other states.
Yeah.
So it was just raining. And people on my way to work, I do the same route every day and I avoid crashes all the time. But it was raining and there was this guy in front of me that couldn't make up his mind what lane he wanted to be in. There's 2 lanes. He couldn't make up his mind. Every time a street came out from the side, he'd like hit his brakes. And I'm like, I don't know what the heck. It's a 50 mile per hour speed limit. He's going like 30 to 50, 30 to 50. And I was like, okay. So I was behind him. I went to the left lane to go around him. And then he like swerved into the left lane like he wanted to change lanes and then hit his brakes. So I stepped on the gas to go back around him. And when I did that, I hit a puddle, lost traction on the back tires of my truck, spun out back across the left lane, flipped and rolled into a telephone pole. And that's what put me in the wheelchair. So I I fractured my C4 and C5 vertebrae and had a brain bleed. And then I broke my T8 and T9. And that's from, I'm a T9 complete. So from about halfway up my back down, I have nothing. So yeah, I started a
Wow.
divorce, and then 4 months later, crashed and flipped into a telephone pole, and I woke up again in the hospital. I don't remember the crash. I remember that
Like
part
it
leading
wasn't
up to the
enough
crash.
for you to make it through the first thing.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I don't remember the
Oh my
crash itself. I
gosh.
remember that incident, like
Yeah.
thinking like, the hell is this guy doing? I stepped on the gas to go around him and hit a puddle, and yeah, flipped into the. I went back after I looked at the pictures afterwards. I was like, holy crap! The entire cab is crushed except for the driver's side. I mean, it's compacted, but it's not like destroyed. The whole
Right.
bed's destroyed. The tires are all snapped off. Like,
You're so lucky to be
yeah.
here.
So I woke up in the hospital again, and they, tried to explain to me, yeah, you're paralyzed. You don't have any feeling from the waist down. And I read the report afterwards. So where I work is the fire training center. So we're the training center for all the departments in our county, and then some, like Barry or two come out and use it. And so I know pretty much all the firefighters around. And so I knew a couple of the guys that were on that call. I haven't really talked to them about it because I'm kind of nervous too, but I read the report and it was like, I guess I was yelling, I can't feel my feet, can't move my legs. And yeah. Yeah. So
What year was that?
That was 2022, December 1st. Yeah. So
it hasn't even been that long.
now 3 years, this December will be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then I'm still dealing with the divorce, custody, all that stuff.
So she didn't step up at all when this happened to you to like help?
So I don't want to get too much
You're
into
like-
it with the stuff with her because
Yeah.
but she, while I was in the hospital, I was messaging her because I was like, I'm gonna be at home and I'm gonna need help, and I was like,
Yeah.
if you want to come stay there, because she had been staying there while I was in the hospital because my
Kids.
and
yeah.
she was, when she moved out, she moved in with her friends, and she was living in some like apartment above a garage in their backyard, and so she was staying in my house apparently. But I was like, when I came back, I was like, you want to come stay, and my mom stayed with me. They live 2 blocks from me, so it's really
Close,
easy for them to
okay.
come help. But my mom was like sleeping at my house, and she was
Yeah.
staying there. And then we just had this big blowout once because she was staying there, but still, and I was just
Yeah.
like, we had this big blowout. I freaked out, and because I'm still dealing, I was in a back brace still, I was still dealing with all that, and then trying to deal with that at the same, like I've talked about all this with some friends and stuff before, but like I'll take the physical stuff I can deal with, apparently. But
Yeah.
it was that one probably screwed me up the worst, the split. So
Did you get really depressed?
yeah,
Yeah.
like really, really depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I get depressed now dealing with all this, but like I said, this was just a whole nother level. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just
How'd you pull yourself out of it?
my son.
Really?
Yeah, I went full into him. I was like, well, I tried once, got shut down, tried again, another injury. So, let's just make sure he's got a good life, and that's all I
Right.
need to worry about. So yeah, I coach whatever sport he does. I spend pretty much anything I do with him. So
And it keeps you busy.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you still see your stepdaughter?
Not so much anymore. At
Yeah.
first, yes. And then things just got real
Yeah.
tense between me and her mom, and she's 17. She wanted to go where, there's really not really any rules, and
Right.
she would come home where I'm at, and I'd had to use the extra bathroom at my house because my bathroom's kind of small. So when I was first like learning how to shower and stuff, I had to use the bigger bathroom. And so they'd use my bathroom, but she'd go in and leave a mess. And then I'd be like, look, dude, you can't leave clothes lying around because I'm in a wheelchair and I can't, it's hard for me to pick them
Right.
up. And so I'd get onto her, and then 20 minutes later, either her uncle or her mom were there to pick her up. And so eventually she just stayed away.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a new number. I don't really talk to her anymore. I
That
tried.
has to make you sad
It's
too, because you raised her for
Yeah.
one. You coached her. You did all the things.
Yeah, I had to sneak into her last high school softball game. I kind of hid out in the back and watched. They ended up seeing me because he was there, and he ended up seeing me. When I was like, crap, I didn't get to go to her high school graduation. Wasn't there for any of the proms,
Oh,
but you know,
that's a lot to deal with, along with everything that you're going through physically and
yeah,
emotionally, all of it.
yeah. It's just dealing with lawyers, divorce, custody,
Yeah.
this stuff. Like it's just it kind of seems like one thing after another, but yeah, I don't really have a choice.
Wow. Did you accept it when they told you you weren't going to walk again, or were you like, "Oh no, I will"? Like, did you go through that too?
I haven't so far been like, oh, maybe it'll happen, because when you learn real quick with disabled stuff that if you don't have a crap ton of money or you don't live in Europe, like you're not gonna be able to do much. Like,
Yeah.
so I've, sports were always big, obviously. And so when this happened, I was like, I got even more depressed because it's like, now I can't play sports,
And that was an outlet for you
Yeah.
before.
And that was,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my therapy. If
Yeah.
I was upset, pissed off, I'd go fill in a softball game, or I'd find a tournament to play
Right.
in, and
Right.
that's how I dealt with it. And, so now I'm just like, and so when they tell you in rehab and all, all everything, they're like, oh, there's all kinds of opportunities. You can do this, do that. Yeah. If you've got thousands of dollars to buy the equipment. Yeah.
Right.
They have grants and stuff, but they usually don't cover, they're amazing. The grants are amazing. I'm not trying to knock them at all, but
Mm-hmm.
they usually don't cover the whole thing. And a lot of people apply for them. I actually am super lucky. I applied for 2 grants this last year from, High Fives and Kelly Brush Foundation. My hat.
Okay.
And I got both of them because I fell in love with sit snow skiing. So there's a place about 3 hours away, unfortunately, that I go up to, and I was like, I'll try it out because I did snowboarding. I was snowboarding a lot. I was like, I'll try this out. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy Trevor Kennison. He's a paraplegic, and
I
he's
don't
like
think so.
he does sit skiing, but he's freaking nuts. He's doing like backflips and all this crazy stuff. And I'm
Really?
like, I'm not gonna get to that level, but I'm like, that looks freaking awesome. So I went up there and tried it, and I caught on pretty quick. I did 2 seasons of it, and they were like, I think next season, because there's 2 different versions. You can do a bi ski, which is wider and easier, and you sit lower, or you can do a mono ski, which is like the next step up, where it's just the one ski, you're higher, and it's
Yeah.
harder to control. They're like, oh, well, next season we'll try that, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go full force in this. So I applied for 2 grants. I got both of them. It's a $10,000 rig. And so I was like, I'm not gonna be able to pay for that. So I applied
So
for the
they paid
grants.
for that?
So one of them, Kelly Brush, paid for 4,000, and then the High Fives did the other 4,000, and then I had to come up with 2,000. I'm like, I don't even have that.
Right.
So I went on Facebook, and I was just like, oh man, I gotta come. I have my friends. It's already done. It was like a day later, I had the $2,000 ready for it, and they're still going because I got into hand cycling too. So actually, this
Good.
last July, so I do hand cycling, I do wheelchair softball, wheelchair basketball, and the sit snow skiing. I haven't done the water skiing yet because it's during summer,
Goodness.
so I'm doing football with him.
Yeah.
But I got into those. I do softball is probably one of my favorite ones. I just started basketball. Sit skiing is by far my favorite. Hand cycling's nice because I can get out and just go ride
Yeah.
around, and he gets on his bike and I go riding around with him. But this last July, I did a bike ride called Ragbri. So you ride from the Missouri to the Mississippi. So you ride the entire state of Iowa, and it's a massive, like 30,000 people do it. It's crazy.
Wow.
My uncle did it for about 25 years. My grandpa did it for about 20. I did it a couple times when I was in high school and college. It's 7 days. It's crazy, but this year was 406 miles. It's usually around 500. And yeah, I would go with my uncle when I was like this in shape college athlete, and he's like 70, just pedaling along. I'm like dying, and he's like, oh, hey, Dan. I'm like, what the? Slow down. But then I was like, he passed away this last year. So I was like, all right, I want to do it again. So I found a place called, I ended up meeting this guy who runs his own organization. It's called Able Bodied. And he does like hand cycles. They raise money to like give like e-assist hand cycles. Like they're like kits you put onto your already hand cycle to give the e-assist.
Yeah.
Cause I met him. He was like, oh, I've got, all these bikes and I don't have a place to keep this one. I was like, I'll keep it in my house, but I'm going to ride it. And he's like,
Right.
yeah, that's fine. I was like, cool. So I took it and I was riding it all over. I was like, this is sweet. And then I bought he helped me to buy one from, there was some lady selling one for like $500, and I was like, I'll go get it. And so I got that one. I was like, this one's awesome too, but it's set up for a quadriplegic, and he needs that for their organization. And
Okay.
he was paying for it. So I guess he was like, well, I'll just take this. And then so he gave me his first hand cycle that he turned in. He didn't give it to me, but he
Oh.
for Ragbri, he was like,
Yeah.
you take this one, you know, it's the first hand cycle I put on. And then he was, well, I'll sell it to you for $4,000, which is a freaking great deal for that bike. I was like,
Right.
okay, cool. So now they're my friends and stuff are helping me raise money for it and everything. So yeah, it's,
I love that there's places out there like that for those grants.
yeah, there's all kinds of them too. Like those are just two of the really big ones,
Right.
but there's a crazy amount of them, but I don't,
I love that.
yeah, I applied for these two. I got them. When I first started playing wheelchair softball, um, it's a $6,000 chair. And so I was like,
Yeah.
that's my sports chair. I was like, I can't afford that. And then 2 weeks later, my friends in the slow pitch world threw a slow pitch tournament, paid for the whole thing. I was like, oh, cool. Like we had a raffle
Oh
with all
my
this stuff in there, and
gosh.
all these teams came out and played. So I got my own like sports chair. And so I
That
did.
speaks volumes of who you are, though, too, to have people, it's making me cry, to have people around you that do that for you.
Yeah, it's
You know,
this
like,
last one. I wasn't even expecting it. I posted this thing like, oh, we'll do this and this. I was like, okay, like, and then it was like a week later. She's like, she's doing a
it's
50-50
amazing.
raffle, raise money for me, and it's all people I met through slow pitch softball. Like
Right.
it gets a, not a bad name, but people are like, oh, beer league softball. But it actually gets pretty intense. The more competitive you play, like in
Yeah.
certain levels, it gets like, holy crap. Like,
So how do you, like, I was a softball player, too, so I'm
oh,
just
nice.
thinking, okay, so when you guys hit, how do you go to first?
You
In your chair?
Yeah. So everything's in your
Really?
chair. Yeah. There's a point system. So depending on your level of injury, you can only have, I think it's 28 points on the field. So I'm a 2. So if I'm on the field, they can have 26 points on the field. So there's amputees, paraplegics, quadriplegics, and
Okay.
everything. So amputees are usually up higher, like 4.5, 5. So
Right.
you put a couple amputees out there that can, because they don't have to, they've got core control, so they can swing the bat
Yeah.
a lot better. Like we played Nebraska, and their freaking team is all just, most of them are amputees, and they come out there and there's guys like hitting the
They
ball.
kill
We
it.
use the big Chicago ball because nobody uses gloves, so we have
Yeah.
that big huge ball, and they're
Okay.
just like cranking them over the fence. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, but if you're like a
That's
quadriplegic or
so
paraplegic, it's
cool.
usually one hand swinging.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you wheel the first. The biggest surprise that I found with all the sports I've played so far is how much they like encourage contact.
Really?
Yeah, because I played basketball forever, and I started playing wheelchair basketball, and they're just like, "Oh no, slam into them." I'm like, "Well, isn't that a foul? Like you're not supposed to hit people. That's a foul." No, you slam into them. I'm like, okay, and so I'm like gently. They're like, "No, dude, like hit them."
Right.
Okay, so now I'm slamming into people all over the place. I flip and roll out. You flip and roll all the time, like, and then softball. You slam into people. If you're going to second, there's no
Yeah.
sliding, obviously. So you go full speed and you slam into them. We have this guy on our team that he's a double amputee, and he'll go full. He's fast on his wheelchair, probably faster than I used to run. And he's whipping around. And if there's a close play, he's slamming into you and you're flipping and he hits you hard. He like goes back and like
So
throws his
you're
hips
telling me
forward.
it's super competitive.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So in August, actually, I went to Minnesota for the Wheelchair Softball World Series. That's the only tournament we do because we're the only team on the West Coast. All the other teams are like East Coast over here.
Oh, okay.
So all these teams out here, they play all the time. We have nobody near us. The closest team is Arizona. And so we just practice all the time. And then sometimes we'll
Right.
have a tournament where like able-bodied will come and they'll get in the extra chairs we have and we play against them. It's super
Yeah.
fun. And they're like, holy crap, how do you guys do this?
I know there's like wheelchair what is it? Hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey,
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
sled hockey. I
Yeah.
forget what they call it. That looks really fun too.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like
Nothing
where
like
I'm at,
that.
there's nothing near me.
Yeah.
I have to travel 2 hours at least to do basketball or softball. And so it's not like before where I'd be like, I'll just go play a softball
Yeah,
game. Now I have
yeah.
to, yeah. So the sports have saved me. My son, it's just, that's everything I've done to keep myself sane, I guess.
Yeah, which I don't think that that's an easy task with all that you've been through.
Yeah, it's not.
What are some of the things that you do, like, so people know, like, you've been through a lot? I mean, God, two
Yeah.
absolutely horrific events, and
Yeah.
you're still here.
Yeah. I'm tough. I'm tough to kill.
You're like, but don't test me
Yeah.
anymore. I'm good
No, I'll
now.
joke around all the time. I'm like, I haven't tried lightning yet. Let's see what happens with
Oh,
that.
God.
But yeah, that's
How do you keep going though, even though, because it's the depression, all that kind of stuff? I'm sure creeps. Are you in any pain at all anymore?
um most of I mean, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if it's pain or just being uncomfortable. Like my leg spasm, saw when
Right.
I transferred it. But, you know, it's
Will they spasm a lot even when you're sitting or anything, or is
when
it
I
just
sleep,
when
they
you're
spasm a lot. It's usually when I'm laying down full on my back, I get
okay?
a lot of spasms. And sometimes I'll wake up in like a figure four look. My left leg will spasm all night until it bends up.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so I've got a adjustable bed and everything, and it's specially made for like paraplegics or quadriplegics. So the middle's super soft, and then the edges are more firm. So when you transfer, you're not sinking in.
Right.
I got that pretty soon after my injury. It was nice to get that, but yeah, the biggest thing is I have to remodel my house. Luckily enough, strangely enough, like a month, I would say, before my accident, I came home. I've got a lot of dogs, and I came home and they had like crapped and peed all over everywhere, and so I got pissed off and I just ripped all the carpet up.
Yeah.
And then a month later, I cried. I'm like, oh well, now it's cement, so that's a lot easier to get around on. So yeah, my house is not. It's single story.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty easy to get around. There's just some things that need to be adjusted, like my cabinets are too high, and I've got everything. I've got the countertops and new sink and new
There's got
stove
to
and
be
all
some
that.
kind of organization out there that'll help with that
Those
stuff
the
too.
same ones. They
Really?
give grants for like home remodels to get
Okay.
your hand controls for your car and everything. So that was another big thing. Once I started driving, it made my life so much better. Like,
Was that a huge adjustment? Only using your hands?
yeah, and yes and no. So I took lessons through a company, which was
Mm-hmm.
like everything. I was like $4,800 for that. Yeah, everything's expensive, and so insurance doesn't pay for it because driving's a luxury apparently. So I had to pay out of pocket for that. So basically, my through work, I have my AD&D. Like my life insurance has that the accidental death and
Right.
dismemberment thing. So I got
Yeah.
some money from that, but it all went to my bed. It went to the new countertops and everything for my kitchen,
Sure.
and then
It's all so
the
expensive.
classes. Yeah, and so they taught me how to do it. And it's honestly, there's all kinds of different hand controls. So they have like portal ones that you could just hook to your pedals and then it hangs right below. But I have one, it's like a boat throttle. That's what it reminds
Okay.
me of.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are on the left hand side, which I didn't like. I drove stick shift forever. So
Yeah.
I like the gas and stuff over here. It's a lot more
Right.
comfortable for me. So they're like, oh yeah, the controls I used when I got the lessons. They're like, oh yeah, there's a company that sells them another $4,500. I'm like, I barely had it for this, dude. Like, no. So I went on
Yeah.
Amazon and found one
Right.
almost exactly the same that just bolts into the track for my chair, and it was like $500. I was like, yeah, cool. But they
Awesome.
make $40 ones that just hang in there, and yeah, it's if you can if you're like handy enough and you can MacGyver things to work out for you. That I know guys. Well, I don't know them. The guy who does my tattoos, he's got a friend who's got this big lifted truck. He's a paraplegic too. And he said he just zip tied those canes to each pedal and he pushes. That's how he does it.
Really?
And I'm just like, well, whatever works. And my
Yeah.
friend that I grew up, or my friend that I played softball with, she said her dad used to lift his leg and you push it with his hand to push the pedals. I'm like, that sounds
Really?
dangerous. I don't know if he was like a full,
Just a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know
Yeah.
if he was a full paraplegic, but it's like still, that's, yeah. But like I said,
Have you
adapt.
noticed how do people treat you any different?
Yeah. I've
Like
never
how do
been much on help. Like when people try to push me in my chair, I get really, I don't get really upset, but I'm like, no, do not
right.
push me. Like, and that's the problem with having like no core control and being in the wheelchair. You always look like you're struggling, even when you're not.
Right.
So if I lean forward too far, I'm just going to flop, but I'm doing
Yeah.
it on purpose, so people think, oh, do you need help? I'm like, no, no. And
Right.
when I'm getting into my car, that's the biggest one. People, you need help getting your chair? And I'm like, well, no, because if you put it in the back when I leave here,
Kind
I'm
of
not
like
going
what
to
I
get
said. Do you
it.
need help?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of
But it's
that.
like you get a system down and people like, oh, you need help. I'm like, well, I've tried letting people at first. I was like, yeah, okay, sure. But it just screws everything up. I'm like, okay, well now
Because
I
you
had
have
a
your
system and now,
routine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just like, no, I'm good. I got it.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is like I said, I don't like people helping me with stuff. I mean, I will literally, if I can't figure it out, I'll either not do it or, I'll call my parents for some things because they're close,
Right.
but I hate doing it.
Yeah.
I feel guilty all the time. I'm just like, can you come do this for me? Like, cause I can't get it and they'll come
Yeah.
over like right then.
Do you think people are mostly respectful?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had any issues with it. It's always been, everyone's super nice. And that's what I'm saying. It's like almost like they're too polite where they feel like they have to help me. And I'm like, no, you don't have to
Yeah.
do that. Like,
That bothers you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not at that point yet. I'll get there eventually
Right.
because I know on Facebook and stuff, I am like friends with hundreds and hundreds of paraplegics, quadriplegics, amputees, stuff like that. And they're always like, oh, just, I don't mind letting people do it. And I'm like, I'm just not at that stage yet.
Yeah.
I can't. People
And you
push
might
me.
not
I'm
ever
like, no.
be.
Yeah.
But that's okay too.
Yeah. I
It's
don't
whatever
think I
you're
will.
comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, what an inspiration.
Yeah. I get that a lot.
I hope you know that.
I
I'm not
I
just
get that
saying
a
that.
lot.
I mean,
And
yeah.
I tend to, that's why I think I was so nervous for this is I'm not big on like talking about myself.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't talk down on myself, but I don't give myself enough credit. I don't think like I'll
Right.
talk, when I was talking to a friend about when I did that bike ride across it and even not in a hand cycle, it's a feat. Like it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so he's talking about, oh dude, that seems crazy. That's intense. I'm like, well, it's, it's kind of, when you get to stop into town and all the time, it makes it easier. He's like, dude, you're totally downplaying what you did. Like,
He's like,
I'm
no,
like,
dude,
"Oh,
you're a
yeah."
badass. Okay. Like, just take it.
I'm like, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I've never been the type to be like, oh, look what I did, kind of stuff.
Right,
So
right.
that's an issue. And even with my friends helping me out to raise money for this stuff, like even accepting that, I'm like, okay, like,
But they want to.
yeah.
Or
And
they
some of
would
them
be
just do
doing
it.
it.
Like this
Yeah,
last time,
yeah.
she just did it. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Yeah.
Just-
I mean,
I'm still like, just, you're sitting in front of me and the crap you've been through. Like, holy crap. It's
Yeah.
just a lot.
like, I don't mind ever talking about it. People ask me about it. I talk about it, but I don't ever like go out and voluntarily be like, oh, this is
Right.
what happened. I want to more.
Right.
That's why I was like, all right, I think I should try this. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. You can be an inspiration to so many people.
I hope so.
100%. You need to get out there and do this. I think you're amazing.
Well, thank you.
That's awesome. No, it's so awesome.
Yeah, yeah, basketball next, and then hopefully enough snow because I put in the order for my sit ski, so once I should be here by this winter. So I'm excited to get started on that because now I don't have to have instructors with me, and I can go with him and my friends and stuff like
Right,
that because he
right.
started snowboarding when I started doing this.
Oh.
Yeah,
How old is he?
He's 10.
10.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. You're just awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, of course.